after y'all met and prayed, where were you at? What happened after that?
Okay, so we went to the termination of parental rights. Parents' rights were terminated. And again, we didn't know which direction. We had all these grandparents and uncles, interested. So we were just kind of like, whatever happens, it's whatever happens is going to happen, and just it's going to be your will regardless. So we were out on court. It's all via Zoom, and we went through the TPR, and the mom's lawyer kind of mentioned something, and she was like, something keeps happening to. They refer to them as ICPCs, and that is any family member that's interested but out of state. So there's like all of these things that you have to go through, like home study, background checks, all this stuff. So she was saying these ICPCs for these family members keep getting denied.
Okay.
And, right then me and Trenton were like, the Lord is, removing these obstacles. It's going to just make it easier for us to adopt her. So all the ICPCs were denied except for one, and one was the biological grandparents. So it'd be biological dad's parents. So we had to do visitations with them. It was via Zoom, 2 hours twice a week
with a
1-year-old. It was chaotic. Like I felt like I was running around the house, like trying to, show them what she's doing and, everything going on. They also, there was a language barrier. They spoke Spanish. They didn't speak any English.
Okay.
So it was very hard to communicate. There was not much talking. They knew a little bit of English. I mean, we didn't really know any Spanish, but they were very sweet. Like we could tell right off the bat, like they are, good people. They were a good family. And me and Trenton, got to the point where, okay, if we, lose Sophia to these biological grandparents, like we know that she's going to be taken care of.
Right.
We still want her, but,
it was much easier for y'all kind of knowing where she would be.
Yes, exactly. So Trenton and I decided we would write them a letter. So we wrote them a letter hoping that, someone could translate it for them.
Yeah.
So we just wrote a letter, and we just told them that, we love Sophia. She's a part of our family. Mm-hmm. We would love to have the chance to, make her a part of our forever family.
Yeah.
And that we didn't want to take her away from them. Like we want her to have that relationship with them. And, they'll always be family. But, with us adopting Sophia, we would become part of their family too. And we, that is,
want to include them.
Yes, we want to include them. So a few weeks went by, and we got a phone call, and it was grandparents have decided that they don't want to adopt Sophia just because they see how happy she is, and they couldn't imagine, removing her from our home, because it would be, traumatic all over again.
Right.
And they were, of course, that was a hard decision for them to make, but they were like, we can't do that to her. So they actually attended the adoption ceremony on Zoom. So, the courtroom was pretty much filled with all of our family.
That's so
and some people from like out of town that couldn't make it were able to log on Zoom, and we were able to see the grandparents, on the TV. So they logged on, and of course they were happy. And the adoption day was, a dream come true. We always had hoped for that day, and we just didn't know if we would ever, get to that point. But, we had hope that, we would. And I can just remember on the way, Trenton and Sophia spent the weekend in Panama City that weekend, her adoption weekend. And adoption morning, we wake up and we get ready, and it's just us three, on the way to the courthouse. And, it's just it's bittersweet. Like I'm happy that we get, but as we are gaining a part of our family, someone, is losing her. So it was very bittersweet, but of course I'm, so grateful, and it was, we're blessed to have her. But on the way to the courthouse, I'm sitting in the back with Sophia, and I'm just looking at her, and I'm like, man, like what a gift from God. And Trenton, he kind of looks back, and he's like, he dedicates a song, and he's like, Sophia, this one's for you. And he plays, and so he plays the song Kung Fu Fighting, like everybody was. And that was the song that when she was upset when we had first gotten her, we would play that song and, we would dance with her. So him playing that song, we just all just start weeping. Of course, Sophia has no idea what's going on.
Like, what's wrong,
but me and Trenton, like, we just look at each other and we just start, bawling our eyes out. And we're like, man, like, again, we'd always hoped for this day, but didn't know, it would come. And it did. And it was just a dream come true.
Yes. Oh, that's so sweet. And she just seems like she's belonged with y'all for forever. Yeah. I love it. I remember the first time I saw her at church. I know I said that, but I'm like, she never was not y'all's to me. She always belonged with y'all. Such a test in faith and such a beautiful journey y'all made it. But I know it was not without its ups and downs. So after y'all had adopted her, you decided that you were ready for another placement.
Yes.
And you also decided to start trying to get pregnant?
Yes. So at her adoption, I actually already knew I was pregnant.
Okay. I didn't realize that yet.
So
that's so sweet.
Yeah. So I knew that I was pregnant. We found out I was pregnant in like October, probably November.
Okay.
We didn't tell anybody until New Year's.
Okay.
Yeah. So my family, we told my side of the family the day after Christmas, and then our whole family, my family, Trenton's family, we were all together on New Year's, and we told them all that, and everyone was of course very excited. So while me and Trenton had talked about, do we want to accept another placement? So while we were in the adoption phase of Sophia, we didn't want anything to hinder that. Sure. So we were like, okay, we want to put everything kind of on hold. We don't want to accept another child at this time. Let's get her adopted. So, we got her adopted. By that time, I'm like, I don't know, 5 months pregnant, something like that. So we're like, okay, and the whole time we're getting calls. We get calls about babies while, she is still, not adopted, but in the adoption phase. And we were just like, we can't risk, anything right now. Let's get her adopted, and then, we'll go from there. So we adopted her in February. Things went on. Spring break came, so March.
Okay.
I got a call, and we were open. Again, I'm getting calls the whole time. After she was adopted, it was more, 8-year-olds, older, and we're just not ready for that. Our family is young, and we just need,
And now
babies.
The daughter that you've adopted is still very young.
Right. Yes. Yeah. She was, she was one. Yeah. So she hadn't turned 2 yet. So we were like, we still need, babies. Sure. So I didn't really get any calls about any babies until the week before spring break. So I got a call about a 4-month-old little boy. And, can you accept this placement? And I was honest with them, and I was like, we could. And I said, however, we're going to Disney for spring break. Is there any way that, if you could find temporary placement for him, we could take him, after. Sure. Our vacation. And they were like, okay, well, thank you. We'll let you know. So I never heard back. So I was like, well, they found placement for him. So about, 3 weeks later, I get a call about a 5-month-old boy. And they were like, we actually called you about this boy, back in March. And you said that you would take him, but you were going on vacation. So I was like, okay. So yeah, that one was more of, oh, let me call Trenton and, make sure, because 1-year-old,
big commitment.
Yeah. We have 1-year-old, I'm pregnant, we said we were ready, but are we? So I called Trenton, and he's like, do you think we can do it? And I was like, I mean, yeah, we can. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but, we can do it. So, it was a long-term, they said it was going to be a long-term thing. So I called back, and I was like, yeah, we'll take him. And we had more of, instead of like, oh, we're going to drop him off today in 2 hours, it was, okay, he's with another foster family right now. What's a good day for you guys, to get him? So I did it about 3 days out, so we would have a little bit of time to prepare. Okay. And, it was kind of like, Sophia's been our only child, and,
you gotta prepare her too.
Yeah. And it's like, while we're, taking another baby, and then I'm pregnant, Sophia's an only child right now, so this is going to be, a lot for her. And so we need to prepare ourselves, prepare her, everything. So April 2nd was the day that we accepted him into our home. He was actually with another foster family. And the reason that he was being moved was because visitation, it was too far away. So they lived in Monticello. So the commute from Monticello to Marianna was just, too far. So we really resonated with the other foster parents because this was their first foster placement ever. And they had no idea that he was going to be moved. So they got a phone call just like we got a phone call with our first saying, hey, he's being moved to another home. So I was able to talk with that other foster mom, and she was like, can me and my family bring him to you? And I was like, absolutely. So we prepared, and I was like a basket case because I was like, I know that they're so sad.
Yeah.
They're so
and then
sad.
you feel like you're kind of taken away
I
from
know.
them.
And I was like, I don't want them to have any, like, I had no idea that he was with another foster family when I said yes, yeah. So I was heartbroken too because I'm like, they're losing him. And yeah, I don't want them to think I'm just like, oh, I'm going to take over and he's my family now, but it all worked out. So we got him April 2nd. April 1st was me and Trenton's anniversary.
Okay.
And I had a track meet that day. I was a track coach at the time. I was gone, all afternoon. I didn't get back till like 10 p.m. and he is, asleep on the couch, kind of waiting for me. And we know like tomorrow is the day we're, embarking on, something new. We're getting this baby boy. Yeah. So I walk in and there's, flowers on the counter with a card. And, I'm reading the card and he has written in there that, happy anniversary, love you. And, I'm ready to start this next adventure, with you. And just to have such a supportive husband. And, I read it and I'm just crying, and it was an Up, from the movie Up. And the song was just playing in my head, everyone knows the song. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, what are we doing? Like, we're crazy. Like, can we do this? And, we just sat on the couch and we both cried and we were like, we're going to do it. Like, whatever it takes, we're just going to do it. And I'm so lucky to have him, such a, he's my support system. And he doesn't just support me, but he, goes all in, just like me. And he loves these kids like, they're his own.
Yes. I stare at y'all at church. I'm a creeper. And they sit over to the side of me, and I'm always in love with the fact that your husband is always loving on the babies. Like, no matter whether y'all have adopted them yet, whether you're just fostering, whether it's your baby, like, he's always over there kissing the top of their heads and loving on them. And I think that moms have this maternal instinct where, like, you hand me a baby, I'm going to be in love with it in 30 seconds, and I'll do anything for the baby. But I don't know that men always have that same, like, emotional response, just not made the same way. And to see him not only, like, go along with your desire and his desire too, and it's not just that he's, helping provide and helping take care because that's something you want to do. It's, the love is outpouring from his heart as well.
Absolutely.
And it's so sweet to watch.
Yeah, I'm very blessed, to have him. And, when I told him, what I wanted to do when we were engaged, that this is, I feel like this is what the Lord's calling me to do. He was like, okay, like, it's our calling. Like, we're both going to do it together. And he, has stepped in and he's done it, and he does it very well. So, we're on the couch, we're crying, and we're like, okay, tomorrow is like a new adventure. Like, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into, but, let's do it. So next day comes, we both get off work, we're home. And the foster family, comes over and brings baby boy. And they were very sweet. Of course, they were sad. But I think it made them feel better seeing where he was going.
Sure.
Into a family that, is
gonna love him.
Yeah, that's going to love him. And, me and the other foster mom, we bonded, and, we're friends. We still talk. And,
That's great.
It's nice to have someone else that understands what, you're going through with the foster care system. It's very, it's just all over the place, and having someone, understand that, and where I can kind of vent to her and she can vent to me.
And I'm sure that y'all's story with Sophia is so inspiring to them, and the fact that y'all had a big letdown first, too,
Yes, and they were very discouraged, and they were like, we don't know if we want to continue to do this because it was traumatic for us. Like, we had him for a month, and they just called and like, hey, you're gonna go to this address and drop him off. So we were able, me and Trenton just tried to encourage them, and they're still fostering to this day.
That's wonderful.
So they are still doing it, and we just need good Christian foster homes, and they provide that. So it was nice. It was a blessing, to get baby boy, but also a blessing to make a friend, out of it.
Good.
So yeah, so we got placed with baby boy, and we became a family of 4. And he had he was fine, like, no medical issues that we knew of. He was kind of sick, but, he was fine. So we got him, and we probably had him for about 2 weeks, and we noticed he was getting sick. And of course, it was on a weekend. Babies always get sick, on the weekend when the doctor's offices are closed. So we were like, well, let's just wait it out till Monday. So my mom was like, okay, you have an appointment. You want me to just take him? You go to work. And I was like, yeah, it'll be, probably very quick. They'll probably give him an antibiotic, send you on your way. So I was like, yeah. So I go to work Monday morning, and I get a call from my mom about 9 o'clock. So I've been at school for an hour. And she's like, hey, I think you need to come home. They're admitting, baby to the hospital. And so I was like, oh my goodness, okay. So, I'm trying to get my things in order at school. And I rush home, and, mom's crying and I'm crying because I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are we having,
scary.
Yeah, like, why are we having to go to the hospital? And it was all upper respiratory issues. Just his breathing was very labored, and I never knew what retractions were, but it's like belly breathing. You can like see like the indentation from him trying to catch his breath. So I call Trenton, and Trenton, comes home, meets me at the hospital. So, we're at the hospital, me, Trenton, and the baby, and, we're in the room, and I'll never forget, we're just sitting there, and he's in my lap, and they're, giving him breathing treatments, and, there were probably 6 nurses, and they're all like, there was like one on each limb, like each leg, each arm, the head, and they're all looking for a vein to start an IV. And I hear one say, I've got a vein up here on the head. And I was like, oh gosh, like, please don't do that anywhere. But why would you, do that? Not his head, So we felt very helpless in the situation. Like, we didn't really know what was going on. So we got admitted. We ended up staying there for 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
And, if you've spent any time in a hospital, hopefully, you don't have to, but it's exhausting. You're just there.
People are coming in and out.
Yes. And he was at Jackson, and, there's not a NICU. So he was automatically in the ICU. So in the ICU, they don't allow children. And at this time, we have Sophia, and she's a year old. So I didn't leave his side. Like, I was there the whole time. I think I left maybe once to go home and take a shower, maybe a couple times to go take a shower, but that was it. I came straight back. So it was very taxing, just being there, and it's just
being
exhausting.
Pregnant,
yes,
having
being
a 1-year-old at home you're away from.
And like, Sophia was going to daycare. Trenton was still going to work. He was there with me some days, and then he's like, I gotta go back to work. And I was like, you do what you gotta do. So, I had somebody there with me, either my mom, his mom, my dad, somebody was there. But we were staying day and night with him. And, me, Trenton, and Sophia didn't get to like be as a family, because I was like, one of us, me or you, have to be here at all times with him. We can't, leave him. So we thought that he was getting better, and they were like, yeah, he's getting better. So they did a chest x-ray, and it came back as pneumonia or something. And they were just like, we just don't feel comfortable
letting him go.
Yes. So they were like, we're going to send you guys to Pensacola. So I was like, okay. So they were like, okay, we are sent everything to Pensacola. We're just waiting on transportation. So I'm assuming ambulance. No, he was life flighted. So when I was like, okay, when will the ambulance be here? And the nurse was like, no, I think he's going helicopter. And I was like, is someone allowed to go with him? Like, we can't just let him go, because they'll beat us there. What's going to happen? So they were like, usually, you can go with him, especially since, baby is small. If they were bigger, you couldn't. But I was like, okay. And they're like, well, you're pregnant, so we're not sure if you're going to be able to go. And so I was like, well, Trenton, you're going to have to fly with him, if I can't go. Well, they did let me. And he was hysterical the whole time.
I cannot imagine this scenario.
It was pretty pitiful. Like, they have him on this little stretcher, and they're just like, he's buckled down, and like his arms are straight.
Oh my goodness.
And he's just, screaming. And
It's loud.
Oh yeah. So when we're walking through the hospital, the flight nurses have him on the stretcher, rolling him. I'm standing beside him, and I'm like, have the passy and like patting the passy in his mouth, trying to calm him down, and he's just not having it. So we get out on the pad, and like helicopters going, and it's so loud, and so we get in, and I'm sitting there, and it's like this tiny little seat, and I'm facing the flight nurses, and baby boy is over here at the side, and I can kind of, there's a hole, and I can see him, and I can reach my hand, across. So I'm patting the passy, and he's crying, but it's so loud I can't hear him cry. But he's just like, just screaming. And finally, he does fall asleep, and he sleeps almost. He sleeps almost, the whole way. And he was exhausted. I was exhausted. So we land in Pensacola, and we end up staying there for 4 more days.
Oh my goodness.
So we were in the hospital and it was just exhausting.
Was Sophia still back at home? Or
yes, Sophia was home. And as soon as we figured out that we were going to Pensacola, my family got a hotel room in Pensacola, and so did Trenton's family. So, and it was Easter weekend, so we all just, they stayed in the hotel, and he was just on the regular floor in Pensacola, so everybody was able to come and go. Kids.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a lot better. So we spent Easter, in Pensacola in the hospital, but we made the best of it, and he did improve, and we kind of left without a diagnosis. Like we didn't really know what was going on, but he was better.
Yeah.
So we were like, and he didn't have to be put on oxygen. So we were like, that's good. So they sent us home finally. And that was just, I've never been so glad to be home.
Oh, I bet.
I was like, it's been, like 8, 9 days. Yeah, it was so long. It just felt like forever. And, I'm exhausted, and I was like, I was taking off work. Like I had missed work. So I was so glad, to finally be at home and just, it was just horrible. But we were home. We kind of left without a diagnosis, but he was better.
He was improving.
Yeah, he was improving. So they have regular foster care, and then they have medical foster care. After, this whole scenario, they were like, okay, maybe he would qualify as medical foster care. And all that is, I would have to go through classes to become a medical foster parent, so I know how to, properly take care of him and giving treatments or whatever need be. And more people would be seeing him, like more nurses would be coming out, and just checking in.
Yeah.
So I'm still going through that process. I've been going through it since June, so it's like.
So it's really easy then.
Right. Yeah. So it was like 6 classes each week for like 3 hours. So I had to get on those for each time. For 3 hours, and I had just had a baby. So it was, but I was like, I've got to do it. I've got to do it, because if I don't, become a medical foster parent, then I don't go through this training, then they're going to move him to a different home. So I was like, nope, like we've got to do it. So, I had to get CPR certified, all the stuff. I'm still not done, but I'm almost done. I have to become like a Medicaid provider. But after that, I think I'll be done. So that's kind of where he is right now. Still being watched closely. But we're praying for healing, and we think that the Lord is healing him. He's improved, so just tremendously. Like he's a different baby.
He looks wonderful.
Oh yeah, he's just completely different than the baby that we got. So we're continuing to believe that the Lord's going to heal him completely, and he won't have to be a medical foster child and have that label.
Yeah. Now, in the midst of all this, you had a little unplanned early delivery.
Yes, I did. So, so that we were in the hospital.
You didn't have anything else going on.
Right. So so the end of April, that was kind of when he was hospitalized and all that. So I was due in July. So I had a little bit of time, and everyone was like, "Oh, I bet you're ready." And I'm like, no, like really. I need her to stay as long as possible, because I don't know how we're going to do this. We have not even a 2-year-old yet. We have a 1-year-old, a baby that, has been very sick. And now we're going to have a newborn. Like, I'm not sure how we're going to do it. So I went to my regular doctor's appointment. I think it was like 34 weeks. I got an ultrasound, and Trenton was with me, and they were like, we're just kind of worried about your amniotic fluid. It's not low, but it's kind of close. So that was a Monday. So they were like, come back on Friday. and we want to check it again. But it could just be you're dehydrated. So we want that number to either stay the same or increase. We don't want it to decrease. And if it does decrease, then you're going to have a baby. And I was like, no, not going to happen. So we went back. I went back Friday, and the whole week I am chugging water, and I'm like, I'm staying hydrated. There's no way that I'm having this baby. Like, I hadn't felt any contractions. Like, everything's good. So I remember I got up Friday morning to go to my appointment. My mom and baby boy went with me. And Trenton was like, do you want me to, do I need to go? What do you think? And I was like, no, like, there's no chance. There's no, I'm good. So I get to the back, they're doing the ultrasound, and, I can see the baby, everything's good. And, there's all these numbers, and I'm like, so what's my amniotic fluid level? And previously it was 5.7, so it needed to stay 5.7 or increase. When she said 3, I was like, no, you're joking,
I think
right?
You're wrong.
Yeah. And she was like, that's really low. She was like, I mean, I could be measuring, it could be a little off. But she was like, that is pretty low. I'm going to have to go get the doctor and see what the doctor says. And in that moment, I was just in denial, and I was like, no, I'm not having the baby today. But then again, like, I might, but I don't want to have the baby today because I'm not ready. Like, I'm not prepared. I don't have any of my stuff. Like, so I'm texting my mom. She's out in the lobby with the baby, and I'm like, it dropped. Like, I think I'm about to have to go to the hospital. So I text Trenton, and he's like, okay, like, I'm leaving work, turning around. And I'm like, you have to go pack my stuff. Like, I don't have any stuff ready. So he's like, okay. So I get admitted to the hospital because the doctor's like, it's not safe for the baby. You're just going to have, to go to the hospital, and you're going to have a baby.
How many weeks early was this?
So that was 30. I was 36 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, actually, okay. So when I initially went to that appointment on a Monday, I was 36 weeks.
Okay.
Yes, and then that Friday I was 36 weeks and 6 days.
Okay.
So, or 5 days. So I ended up having the baby, and it was at 12:09 a.m. and it was on the 37th week. So she was full term.
Oh my goodness.
So she wasn't like super early, but we just weren't prepared, and I just knew that I was going to carry this baby like forever. You know, like for probably 40 weeks. Like
unexpected.
Yes. So Trenton gets to the hospital, and he has, some of my stuff packed. He did not pack anything for himself.
He was panicking.
Yeah, he was. So, and I was just like, you need to hurry up and get here. Like, I don't know.
Right. How long this is going to take.
Yeah. And like, my mom's here, but she has the baby, and, it's just hard to, do anything. So my in-laws, they come, they get a hotel in Panama City, and my parents, they do the same thing. So we're all there.
Okay.
So, I end up having the baby the next day, and, just like that, we became a family of 5, and I was like, it was honestly like a vacation being in the hospital, like with
people were taking care of you.
Yes, and it was like all I have to do is like take care of this newborn baby, and it's precious, and there's no screaming kids. Like, it was very nice. And then I was like, I just know I'm gonna come home to like just chaos, and it was chaotic when I came home, to say the least. But I was in denial for so long that she was coming early, and I was like, I don't want to have her early. Like, and after she was born, I immediately just felt so guilty. Like, it's great. Like, I'm
wonderful.
So glad she's here. So it was
fear
just,
of the unknown is a real thing.
Oh,
like,
right.
Not being able to fully grasp how you are going to manage these 3 little babies at home. Like, and I can't imagine.
It took me. I was very hard on myself. So, when I came home, I'm still, I'm healing from having a baby, and I'm not able to, take care of the other or any of the other kids. All I'm really able to do is take care of her. I can't, Trenton's even having to help me like stand up and, all this stuff. And I'm just like, I feel so helpless. And it got to a point where I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. And I was very, very hard on myself, and everyone was just like, you just had a baby, like, it's okay. So I've just gotten to where, I can take care of all 3 of them at home, still going out in public. I haven't braved by myself with all 3 because it is a lot. But,
And it's almost to me like a little harder, like, you think people have multiples, but you're at like such varying ages. So their ages right now are.
Okay, so 2 years old.
Okay.
2 years old, 10 months old,
okay.
and 2.5 months old.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then 10-month-old baby boy, he, he's not crawling yet. He's a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
But he's not mobile, and he wants to be mobile so bad. But having 2 kids that, can't get around, it's
Your
very
hands
hard.
Are full, and they're not the same size. They're not on the same schedule.
So it is very hard to manage, 2 little ones like that still need to be held. And he's just gotten to where he can hold the bottle by himself, and it's like, oh my gosh, like this helps me out so much. Like so yeah, it's very challenging. But I just had to give myself a lot of grace and.
I know.
I don't know. I can do it now a little bit, but
it's gonna get easier and easier. My husband was like, "Hey, what do you think they're doing in the house? You think they're busy?" Like we were talking about you, because I'm like, "I wonder how Lindsay's doing." He's like, "They're busy," and I'm like, "Yeah, they are."
Yeah.
But in our weakness, like God shines through so much, and I know that y'all are perfectly capable. And it, like you said, it's not easy, but it's right, and y'all are doing God's will. And y'all believe that, and I believe that, and it's wonderful to watch y'all shine. Y'all are doing such great things. I was reading some Bible verses, thinking about you this morning, and I was like, everybody wants to be a Proverbs 31 girl, but Proverbs 31:20, she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. And you've done that so well. You've welcomed these children into your home. I mean, just at the drop of a hat, literally. And I'm just so proud of y'all for opening y'all's home and sharing y'all's love. And ultimately, that's what we're called to do as Christians, is share God's love with others. And y'all are sharing that and sharing that overflow with other children who need it. And it's such a blessing. No matter how much time you have with them, I choose to believe that even if it was just for a day or two, that made a lasting impact on their lives.
Yep.
So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And I hope it's been uplifting and encouraging and inspiring to others to share God's love. And we'll see you next time.